Welcome back to Energy Over Matter. Are you feeling stuck? Do you feel like you've tried everything, seen every specialist, done every protocol, put in all the effort? Maybe you even have a counter full of supplements that you've tried, but still nothing seems to work. You're still stuck in your old patterns, the same old symptoms, the same old body waking up to every morning. Well, what if it wasn't the effort? What if it wasn't because you're not doing enough? What if it's because you just haven't looked at it yet the right way? Today, we're going to be doing a review of a bioresonance or a bioenergetic scan. And this gives us an instant access to what's going on inside your body. What are your energy patterns? What is your body trying to communicate to you? And how is the order of operation to start healing and actually making the needle move in your healing, your recovery, and regaining your life? Today, I'm with Leah, who is one of my long-standing clients who has been with me since we originally scanned at a trade show. Leah has also been involved in a nervous system reset program with me and has attended some of my sound baths. So she's volunteered today graciously to come on and allow you to view her scan with us. And we haven't reviewed it before this. This is real time. And we also have not done an intake previously. So this is really giving you an actual snapshot of what this report shows, what comes up, and how does it resonate? How does it mirror the symptoms? Before we start, I just want to make a caveat that these scans are not diagnostic. We are not diagnosing a disease, and nor are we claiming that we cure disease. We simply are generating an energetic pattern blueprint, a report that shows you where maybe you're stuck. Where do we need to start? What's actually going on underneath the symptoms? And we get at the root cause as we unpack these energetic patterns. So Leah, thank you so much for coming today and being willing to share this with everybody.
Thank you for having me here today.
Yeah, your insight today, Leah, is really going to be helpful for people because these scans are very informative and they're very comprehensive, but they're hard to access for most people. And I think that's partly because people don't know what they are. And also, we have a bit of a paradigm shift in order to get into energy healing because we have traditionally come from a very materialistic Newtonian worldview where we treat the biochemistry of the body with pharmaceutical drugs and even on the naturopathic side with supplements and maybe even with herbs. And when we look at these scans, we're really going to an entirely new place where we're looking at the energy. We're looking at the blueprint. We're looking at what governs the information field and directs the energy in the body so that the biochemistry can work. And I think that this is why a lot of us feel stuck. And I'm sure the reason why you have come to see me in the first place and agreed to do this today is because probably you have that feeling of being stuck and you've tried a lot of things.
Absolutely.
So in this scan, it's very comprehensive and there's a lot of screens to go through. And if you work with me, and I'll provide this offline after we scan, you have access to all of these screens and all of the write-up and information. Just to give a high level view of that, you first of all have all of these screens moving across the top. But then even as you come down into the screens, when you click on something and you drop down, you get this beautiful resource that tells you what might be going on wrong, what you could do to maybe help to move the needle and change it, and any product or suggestion that's recommended based on that. And as you move through these screens, they get even more informative. That as you click on something, you might get another screen. And these are showing you again different things that you can look at, and there'll be more drop-down menus. So it is pretty comprehensive. In a scan review, we generally just pick out the high level, so the big things. So these are the priorities that your body's looking for. And energetically, this doesn't mean that if something shows up, so as an example, if your heart shows up, it doesn't mean that you need to go get an ECG and go to the hospital or see a cardiologist. It just means that of all of the frequencies being emitted by your body, these are the ones that are most out of tune. And so these are the ones your body's looking for support on to start with, but it doesn't say how much they're out of tune. So it's not supposed to give you another worry, another fear, another reason for your nervous system to be on alert. This is simply just to start to give you awareness of the patterns in your body so that you can start to take actions towards the things that are actually going to, be beneficial for your body. So for the first pattern I really wanted to talk to you about is the night infoceutical. So night showed up for you under the energy source screen. So the energy source is how we bring energy from our environment and into our bodies. Everything in life is an energy exchange. So if we don't get enough energy, then our systems don't work, the biochemistry reactions, the mechanism of our body, they don't have the energy in order to initiate the responses required. So in this case, we're looking for purples. Purples are the ones that are the highest priority. So night showed up for you. And before I dive into the night when it shows up on a scan and what patterns this might mean, does this resonate with you in any way, the night showing up?
Yeah, it does. I'm actually a little surprised that it's like that high. But I guess it would kind of make sense as for lately.
Yeah, so night tends to be when we have a couple really important processes happen. This is like in our nervous system when we have the gas, which is our sympathetic. Nighttime is parasympathetic or the break. This is when we go into rest and digest and recovery. So we build our immune system at night. We restore the cells in our digestive lining. We do all kinds of work in our brain as well to detox our lymphatic system. We do all of this wonderful repair at night. And when this mechanism is compromised, the ability for our body to do those kinds of functions really slows down. And this can show in a couple different ways. So, your pineal gland creates melatonin, which is helping you to fall asleep and also to stay asleep. Your adrenal glands create DHEA, which is another hormone in the body that helps to regulate energy and metabolism. And an unknown fact for a lot of people is that when you're sleeping, this is actually when you burn the most fat. So people think that, exercise is pivotal, but really stress regulation, which then relates to our sleep cycles, has a lot to do with how we metabolize fat during our sleep. Because during the day, we charge the voltage of our cells by taking in red light and UV lights from the environment. And at nighttime, those fat cells, they convert into heat energy. And as it does that, it releases those light that's stored from the daytime, and it energizes all those processes of detoxification, repair, and recovery that we have during sleep. So generally, around the time that we did this scan, did you notice any changes in your sleep patterns?
Yeah, I guess they've been a bit disruptive or like I've been waking up. The thing, so I've been trying to like implement better sleep hygiene. And so I think that's why I guess it's a little bit of a surprise that it's this high. But I do notice within myself, like I wake up and I never feel fully rested, even when I get like 8 hours of sleep, or even when I do, all of the things like not looking at screens or like wearing my eye mask. I still feel like not rested through the night, even if I've slept through the night. So I guess that makes like sense, that it would be like high.
Yeah, well, what you're
In that way.
describing is this common wired but tired kind of feeling,
Mhm.
which is even when we do lay down and sleep, and for a lot of us, we can lie down and we're in the bed for 8 hours. And so we feel like I got enough sleep. I've been laying there, but did you get restful sleep? Was it recuperative? And that feeling of waking up and you're still tired, or you crash at some point, or you need the caffeine to get you going in the morning,
Yeah.
these are all signs that that sleep cycle has been impaired at some point. And
Right.
I'd like to recognize, first of all, and congratulate you on the fact that you're working on a hygiene sleep
Yeah.
habit, because I think for a lot of people, they don't even understand the value of that or why that's a worthwhile endeavor. I mean, I think we
Hmm.
all already start when we're little kids with this idea that nap is a punishment, or, even sleeping is kind of lazy. We're supposed to be productive and doing
Hmm.
things and driven. And for a lot of us, we catch up in bed on scrolling, or we wake
Right.
up and we start emailing right away or checking all of these things, and it instantly pulls us out of sleep patterns that are more beneficial. So what this says to me then when you're sleeping enough hours but you're still feeling tired, it has a lot to do actually then with the nervous system patterns. So if you're
Okay.
not properly going into the REM sleep, and you're not hitting those deeper, lower brainwave patterns, that's where the real repair, sleep, and recovery comes from. So, for some of us, we struggle to fall asleep. Some of us, it's staying asleep. And some of us, it's just that we're not actually going into those deeper states of sleep. So the night Infoceutical, which is a product that is now recommended based on your scan, is going to help you with those resetting the circadian rhythm. And I think that one of the things that people misunderstand about sleep is that it's not even just the pineal gland and the dark and light of your room at night. Every cell in your body has a little internal clock. And sometimes when we start to get dysregulated, those little clocks become unset and the pattern gets kind of stuck. And when we have these kinds of stuck patterns, little small things can translate into bigger snowball things. And sleep is so foundational for everything else that when we get this pattern wrong, it tends to disrupt all the other patterns in the body. They work less effective. So this is one where we're really going to start to make a shift in the pattern by taking a supportive product. And then continue with the sleep hygiene habits and see if stacking different things could help. Sometimes listening to calming frequencies before bed can help, binaural beats, listening to some ambient background sounds. Sleep hypnosis can really help as well, or maybe even scent, because different scents in the environment can and not ones that are artificial because those have their own negative consequence, but more ones like an essential oil or something that actually calms, lavender being one of the ones. And then the next pattern that I really seen that stuck out for me with you was skin showing up.
Oh,
So, and under the energy drivers or the energy strength, this is really where we're starting to look at how strong is the energy flowing through this part of your body. And skin, I just want to make a little bit of a differentiation here because a lot of us only think about the skin as being just the outside dermis layer that we can visibly see. But skin is really all of the layers that separate the inside of the body from the outside. So the obvious one is the barrier of our skin, which is the largest organ, but also the tube of our digestive system. So starting in our mouth and ending on the other end, that whole thing is lined with epithelial cells. And that is all making the inside of our body technically outside because nothing that goes in from our mouth and through our digestive system becomes part of our body until we break it down and then we integrate it and assimilate it into the bloodstream. So this can have a lot to do with not just maybe having like rashes, sensitive skin, dry skin, irritation on the outside, but can have a lot to do with the mucosal layer on the inside, leaky gut being one of them. So when a skin shows up for here for you, does this in any way make sense, or do you see this actually in your real life?
yeah, like my actual skin. I actually have been saying that I've noticed my skin is not the greatest, and I've been doing all of the things like I normally do, and I don't know why, like something's changing. Like, we're always getting older, so I'm like, is it that, or what? But even just kind of like seeing like it says mucous membranes, ear, nose, and throat. Like, I actually have noticed, like, could that be like where I get like congested and stuff a little bit? Like if it's because I don't
Absolutely.
feel like I am ever like sick or I don't really have allergies, but I've really noticed lately like I've been kind of struggling with that. So that just like stood out for me reading that.
Yeah, so if
And
I jump over even to the next screen, so we're in energy flow, just so you can navigate this on your own later.
yeah, I saw that large.
Yeah, even when you're looking here, I know the purple one is showing up here, but I want you to be able to look at, sorry, looking at all of the screens here.
Huh.
So even the ones that are not showing a color, it's still beneficial to go in and have a look at them. When we have the little man highlighted on the side here, we're looking for ones that are threes and fours. Those are kind of representing that purple, which these are the higher priorities. So when I jump through all of these, I already noticed a pattern for you that we have a lot of things that are showing up in that area of your body. So we're seeing right here the sinus field is showing up as a three.
Interesting.
And a lot of them are actually in the gut too, but we're talking about, so right now, we're seeing a couple ones down in the liver, which liver actually was showing for you too. So we'll get to that.
Is that
But
like
as
the
I,
right side of your body? Yeah.
yep, your right side is your
It's
liver.
actually crazy where that four is. I actually always get pain on that side and there's no explanation. So I have
Well,
to
you
wonder
have
if
one
that's
now.
connected or not. There we
Yeah,
go.
you do have one now because liver is actually one of your patterns, energetic patterns
Oh,
that show
okay.
up. So we'll get to that, but just sticking with just even the mucous membrane. So here we're seeing again, even though this is
Oh,
now showing
good.
higher in the prefrontal cortex, it is the mucosal membrane field. So when we jump through this as we go, you'll start to see that there's a lot of them that kind of even your aeoles and the nodes of your bronchial field, which is also
Wow.
connected to that feeling of the sinus or being irritated. So when
Hmm.
I was looking through this, for you, I did tend to notice that there was actually quite a few. There we're seeing it again. The eye muscles were showing up again
Oh, that's
around that same
interesting.
area. So
I
this is
always,
what, yeah, go ahead.
no, I just always get like stuff there behind the eyes. So that's cool too because it's not like it's like really highlighted like as the purple, but yeah, like
It
it's nice.
isn't.
It's cool like being able to see within even on the areas that like look like they're okay, and then you can actually see like the points that are like called out that like you said like the threes or the fours or
And this is one of these things, like we're only going to talk about these big higher level ones because there's so much that we could talk about, but for time and not to overwhelm you with too much information, we're picking these higher level ones. But when we're just looking at skin, this is how we start to see how
yeah.
related everything is. You're saying out of the skin, what's resonating with you is this sinus field.
Hmm.
Um, and then as I looked through your scan, that was a pattern that even though it didn't show as purple, I noticed as I clicked through all the screens that that was something that was continuously showing up as irritated or having an issue. So
Wow.
one of the things I put in your email and for the listeners, so what happens usually after these scans is not only do you get this full comprehensive report to review on your own, but I also will send out an email with the highlights that I see from this and also recommendations that I make based on my other modalities, which are outside of just what's in this report. So one of the things, Leah, that I was recommending for you was dry brushing.
Okay.
Is that
Like on my
something?
skin. Yeah,
Yeah.
I've actually always wanted to do it. I have a brush. It's one of those things that I got the brush and I was like, yeah, I can dry brush, but then I never do. So that's probably something I got to start picking up.
Yeah, and you know what? This is again one of those ones. It really, you don't have to add a lot more time into your day. You just have to
Yeah.
habitually do it. So the best time to do it is when you're in the shower before you turn the water on, because you are shedding some skin off. So it's better to do it already just in the shower.
Yeah.
So when you're already undressed, you brush, and it really takes like 3 minutes at the most. Like
Okay.
you don't
I
want to
should
do
just
it.
put it in the shower, yeah, because
Yeah,
I think about it when I'm in the shower, but then I'm already in the shower. So
yeah. And you don't want to do it for so many strokes that it irritates the skin because the bristles are a little bit harder. You only
okay.
want to do like one, maybe two strokes on each section of your body. And you're always moving from the outside towards the heart. So coming up your foot, up your leg towards your heart, same with your hands and your arms. So it's always from the extremities. And this moves not only the lymph, which is going to help because you have some liver stagnation here too, but with the skin in general, because skin says to me, and the pattern here, and this is what I think that Western medicine misses a lot. If you showed up normally to see a dermatologist and you have a rash, they're going to just treat the symptom. They're going to say, here's some cream, put this on. Or if you have a sinus problem, they might give you a spray or something, a puffer, and they masked the symptom, but they never really addressed what was going on. energetically, when we think about our skin, whether it's on the outside or the inside of our digestive tract, it is the first line of protection. It is the boundary between everything else and us.
Right.
And so I tend to think when we see things with skin coming up, that there might energetically be something related to our ability to set boundaries and our ability to maintain them and to then decide what we should take in and what we should keep out. And this can be people, thoughts, food, relationships. It can be at all these different layers, but skin is definitely a sense of boundary. I see you smiling, like maybe
Wow.
that's, yeah.
Just especially because we just did the nervous system reset, and I just know that like boundaries is my absolute biggest thing that I struggle with. And that I know and that I try to work towards setting them and I fail every time. And it's my biggest nervous system resets or reset trigger. So it's very interesting that you just bringing that in and or how that could tie into like I would never think like looking at skin on here that it would have to do with like A, my sinuses, and then B, boundary setting. That's just
And
really cool.
yeah, I think the insights that you get from this kind of looking at it in another way, because this is why we don't want to mask these things. We want to hear the messengers our body is sending up,
Yeah.
because, our brain is only 10% of the communication system coming down into the body. The body is 90%. So when it starts to send these signals, whether it is leaky gut, which could be a poor boundary as well too for a lot of people, or whether it's a skin irritation or whether it's what you're breathing in. Because I mean, when we think about when we breathe in our lungs and our nasal passage, it's the first defense for microbes, for pathogens, for
Mhm.
virus. It's the very first place that our body says, "What do I want to let in? What am I keeping out?" It's the first boundary that we're trying to set,
Right.
right? Even before we actually eat the food and swallow something, breathing is that fundamental one. And when it gets compromised, it generally is, yeah, something about a boundary. Okay, so the third pattern that I wanted to just look at here was the large intestine. And this has a lot to do with, again, assimilation. So your large intestine, and what's interesting here is that we're just talking about the lungs as that first boundary. The lungs and the large intestine are yin and yang organs to each other. So they are very linked. So the intestine also has the skin as a membrane going all the way through it. And when we're eating something now and it's coming into our body, this is the place where our immune system is first going to encounter that and say, is there something here that's bad for me? What do I want to excrete? What do I want to bring into my body so that my liver can work to metabolize and process this? And what do I let go of? And
Yes,
so,
that
what we're
stood out.
really, yeah, so letting go is a big one energetically for the large intestine. And I see you smiling again at this. So, is
Oh
there
yeah.
something?
That's just, yeah, no, like I guess another thing that I'm really coming to is like the holding on and letting go. As soon as I didn't even see that before when we were looking at it, but that is like another thing that's very relevant in my life at this moment. And I'm holding on to stuff that I really should be letting go of. And yeah, that's just wild. That's really cool.
And this is as above, so below, right? Like whatever is in the macros and the micro. So when we
Yeah.
think about the way the planets move for astrology, and we pare that down to what is going on in our planet, and certainly there's a lot of issues going on in the world right now. I think we can all agree on that. And then we start to look now at the individual organism, and we can see the rising rates of dysregulation, of autoimmune, of cancer, autism, all kinds of things are rising, which means at an individual organism level, we're struggling. And I think that's why this will hit for a lot of people when they watch this, because it's unfortunate that a lot of us are falling sick. And then we look at that down even further and we look at the organs in the body and then we look at the individual cells, and they're all little mirrors and little fractals of the bigger things. And so, whatever is going on emotionally in the world, whatever's going on emotionally with you, is going to be felt and resonated in the frequencies of your body all the way down into the individual cell, which is either going to live in protection mode all the time, right? Which is that fight or flight where it's shutting down. It's not producing energy now. It's not repairing. It's not regenerating. It's not digesting. It's not going to do reproduction or proper hormones. It's always just going to stay in this survival mode of I have poor boundaries. I don't know what to take in. I don't know what to let go. I'm not digesting my emotions. I'm not digesting my food. I'm not digesting the events of the world around me. I don't know what is mine. I don't know what's theirs. I don't know how to let go of it. And
Mhm.
our organs are going to mirror this higher energy field that we have. And
Right.
this is not to make us feel guilty or ashamed or that we're doing something wrong. This is to show us that maybe there's patterns here that once we bring awareness to it, that we can start to relate differently to our bodies, to our symptoms, and to the kind of habits and the kind of things that we want to
Mhm.
do in our life. Because when we're on autopilot, a lot of times we don't, when we're not aware of these things, they just kind of continue to hum in the background, getting worse and worse. And we still do effort, we're just doing the wrong effort. And so then we feel frustrated and we want to give up because our effort has just gone into the wrong areas.
Yeah. I think that's what's validating about this is, like you could do all of the things and still feel not great. But then to see that like energetically this is showing up in the body, it's just validating that, you can put your eye mask on and get your 8 hours of sleep, but it's like validating to show that I'm not rested because I can say that to people, but I'm doing all of the things to try to be rested. So if it's like something deeper within my energetic body, like that, I think that just even with this, like, that those feelings of like holding on and not letting go, and even the self-worth and guilt there, like it's just because, yeah, I don't know, it's just really cool to see how it all ties together and that
Yeah,
there's
and
something deeper there.
I I
Yeah.
know that the bioenergetics and this kind of what we call information medicine was the missing piece for me too, because like you, what got me into this is I also suffer with autoimmune disease and it was long lasting. It's been 20 years and I thought I was doing everything right. I was doing yoga. I was doing the anti-inflammatory diet. I was taking all the
Yeah.
supplements. I was meditating, but there was still something at the energetic level that was still holding this pattern. So it didn't matter how much I did these external
Yeah.
things. If the pattern is always incoherent and it's set wrong, then those things will fade out. Like the effort doesn't last in the
Yeah.
body, it fades out because the energy patterns are still dysregulated. So it's
Yeah.
like once we start to get that blueprint corrected, then all of the things that we did before, they will work. Right. And
Yeah.
that's why with some people they do work, right? Like you always wonder, you're like, you hear these tells on the internet, and
Yeah.
you're like, oh, somebody did fascial release and then they're healed,
Yeah.
and
And it
somebody
worked.
tried this supplement and it worked. And I don't think those people are lying. I think for them, they
Mhm.
probably did that one thing and it was a miracle for them. Because
Mhm.
for them, they probably didn't have all of these upstream issues. They might
Right.
have only just had an actual deficiency in a mineral. They might have just had one thing going on. But for some of us that have these chronic complex, they've been with us for a long time and
Yeah.
they're staying stuck. Generally, for those of us in this situation, we have a lot of trauma patterns, we have a lot of thought loops, and we have a lot of limiting beliefs. And again, that's not shame to put on people. It's not saying that we're broken in some way more than other people. We just might have experienced things differently, and they might have
Mhm.
just stayed stuck in a way and just need a little bit of assistance to repattern. And then all of a sudden, you won't feel that, oh, this doesn't work and this is frustrating. You'll actually start to see some changes.
Right. Makes sense.
Okay, so the next thing I just wanted to bring awareness to as far as your patterns was the liver coming up. So only one of these products is one that I've ordered for you, but they both showed up. So when we start to see the liver show up under the energetic terrain, this is really saying that there's something that your liver is very much struggling to process out of it. So I know that a lot of us think that liver is only just like a detox pathway, but the liver does other functions too. It has a lot to do with regulating our hormones and breaking down hormones and making them into new ones. So when we're in fight or flight frequently, we end up by using all of our cholesterol to make cortisol, and that's our
Mhm.
stress hormone. And then we're constantly using that instead of making the other hormones that we might need, like progesterone, estrogen, or other ones in the body. So you say that your liver hurts sometimes?
I don't even know if it's my liver, but I always get pain on like my right side, and it comes and goes from time to time. And I've gotten like ultrasounds, abdominal, like everything, like I've even done scopes, like I'm just nothing they can explain. And it'll come and go, but sometimes it just gets like very, I don't know, I just get like a sharp pain. They even checked for like like if it was my appendix and it's not. But just reading it, even that's why I was kind of smiling before. It's related to chronic exhaustion, which ties into the
Yes.
night, the skin and the larynx, and it even says can also lead to allergic reactions, which is interesting because I don't normally have allergies. So it's interesting that that all has been coming up too with
Yes, well, that's one of the things that when we look at the liver, it's when it starts to get sluggish, because I want to say, and I might get this wrong, but I think that your blood filters entirely from your whole system every 3 minutes through the liver. So it's constantly working. It is the power horse. It uses more energy than all the other organs. And when we start to find that things make us sensitive, where like scent, light,
Mhm.
sound, fragrance starts to be overreactive and oversensitive in the body, a lot of times it has to do with the liver being overburdened.
Wow, I didn't know
So,
that.
yeah, the liver is working way too hard for us. And this is not surprising for me in the world we live in now. Like you
Yeah.
tend to see this come up a lot if you would think about people if you drink a lot of alcohol or people that have maybe fatty liver from being overweight in their diet. This definitely the liver struggles. Also, people that take a lot of prescription medication because the
Mhm.
liver has to break that down and metabolize it and excrete it into something safer. But for other people, this can just be now in the world we live in. We have glyphosate being sprayed on everything. We have genetically modified food. We have poor air quality. The water is contaminated. Like we're bombarded with so many things, and our liver, it does its best, and it's definitely working hard all the time, but it can become overburdened. And then we do see that when it starts to get a little stressed, that feeling of lethargy and of being tired all the time
Yeah.
because it's like a workhorse and we're never letting it rest. And some of
Right.
this is in our control, and some of it is a bit outside of our control because it's definitely hard with the amount that we're bombarded with in the environment. So we
Right.
do our best, right, to take, if we can, chemicals out of our house,
Mhm.
out of our environment, definitely out of our personal care routine, like what we put on our skin, what we put in our mouth when we brush our teeth. We try to do the best we can. And the emotion that usually tied up with the liver is anger and resentment.
Mm.
And even if you don't maybe feel like you have anger, I
Well,
would,
anger, yeah, but resentment resonates.
yeah, and I think even sometimes when we have poor boundaries, it's not so much always that we might be angry at other people. Like you think about angry people as, oh, they're
Mhm.
reactive, they're mean, but we get mad with ourselves.
Yeah.
Right? Like I know in my life that whenever I've failed to keep a boundary with somebody, especially when I've told them, this is the boundary, and then they walk on it, and then I don't do anything, that I get mad with myself, right? Like I'm
Hmm.
angry at myself. Like I'm like, I ruminate on that. It's not so much even always projecting anger at somebody else. Sometimes it's
Yeah,
internal,
that
right?
makes sense.
Towards ourselves, where we're just like, why did I do that again? Why did I say yes when I meant no? And how do I
Yeah.
get out of this? So, you know, that we can see that coming up kind of as a pattern. And
Mhm.
then under the energetic stars, we had another one. We had a couple ones that are coming up purple, but the one I really wanted to focus on for you, and the one that you have as a product that is ordered for you, is the autoimmune. So autoimmune disease, this one can actually be an actual autoimmune disease that you have in your body where your cells start attacking themselves. But it can also just be that your immune system has just kind of gone awry and it's oversensitive. So even
Mhm.
talking about what we just were, like allergies
Yeah.
and
I've been
sensitivity.
super
Um,
sensitive to everything, like you said, like smells, like especially, but even like sounds. I'm hearing like everything, feeling everything around me. I just feel like super sensitive lately, more than normal. So that is very validating.
Yeah, and so the autoimmune
Audio.
one,
Sorry, I just saw down below. I don't want to get off topic, but
yeah.
it's funny that that comes up a lot to me right now. So,
And why does that resonate when you look at that?
oh, because even like with my earbuds, like I don't even they don't even go in my ear. They just sit on top. And I've even tried over ear. I feel like even when there's no music playing, I'm feeling the frequencies in my ear, and I keep always like saying my ears are bleeding. I feel like I've been super sensitive to like I'm hearing light bulbs everywhere, even with these earbuds. It's like even when nothing's playing, yeah, I just like I feel them, I hear them, or it's like they're adding pressure into my ears. So I usually can't wear them for long. Even in like songs I've normally listened to in the past that I like love, they'll be like on, and I'm like, oh, I gotta turn that off. Like something's not right about that sound with me anymore. Like it's just not sitting well with me.
Yeah,
So it's very interesting that that's just there.
and some of this even I think might become as we become more aware of ourselves and we start to pay better attention to our surroundings, we start to actually realize how many dissonant frequencies are in the environment. And even things that we used to like, because I know there was a lot of music. I used to listen to hip hop. And now, whenever my kids, because they like hip hop still, whenever they blast it, I'm like, oh, the lyrics are so upsetting in it. Like, is it so aggressive? And I'm not, anyone here that likes hip hop, if you love that, that's fine. I'm not saying anything bad about it. I just feel like for myself now, I want to listen to actually music that doesn't even have lyrics. I just like
Yeah,
to hear like soothing sound now because
I'm finding that
um,
lately too.
yeah, where I just like because I like what you're saying. I definitely, as I became an avid meditator, I could really drop in and I can hear the hum of electricity too, and I
I feel
can
like even
hear.
just like the audio versus in the music, and it's like sometimes it even feels too like stimulating, like when there's just too much going on in a song, which is so interesting because I used to love like really like hectic, like loud, like I don't know, pump, music you want like to pump you up. But I've been finding lately I can't listen to that at all because it's like too much for me. I'm like, okay, turn it off.
You know what's shifted for me even too, because I love house music. That was always my thing. And back in the day, definitely that had a lot of negative connotations because rave culture. I wasn't doing it therapeutically. I was doing that as escapism probably back in the day. But his name is Lincoln Jesser. He is the creator of Healing House. And he wrote the foreword actually for my book. And I love his music because he plays house music, and not only because house music does always have these really happy, uplifting lyrics in them, right? Like it's never negative. It's always like these little catchphrases of just kind of like joyful lyrics that just like in this trance over and over. But he actually creates all of the tracks to have specific frequencies. So whether it's 432 or
Oh,
528
I like
hertz,
that.
they're all designed to actually heal the body as you listen to them. And there's a few bands that do that even. And I know they were talking about loud sounds. I don't know if you know the band Tool. You might be a little young for that
I've
because
I've
um,
heard of Tool. Yeah.
it's more from the 90s, right? For when I was a teenager, but they sound like heavy metal, kind of like aggressive sounding. I didn't really like them so much when I was younger, but they don't play in 440, they play in 432. And it's
Oh,
intentional
interesting.
because there's some bands that understood that what they've done to the music industry is actually harmful for our health. And some bands actually know this and they implement these things even if we're not aware of them.
Yeah.
And so I actually been finding lately that I've been seeking out music that has this kind of effect. And they even look at things like different classical composers. And when you listen to those, what it actually does to the nervous system. And they can actually do studies now and really show how beneficial it is.
Wow.
So, yeah, I think it's when we get aware and we get sensitive to these things.
Hmm.
And the sensitivity in some ways, it's a sign that our body's overloaded because
Right.
certainly there was a time probably for both of us when we could stay up all night or have a hangover, eat whatever we want,
Yeah.
or do
Or listen to
anything, and
loud music.
yeah, and everything was fine. And so our bodies, are more sensitized
Yeah,
now, but it's also an opportunity and kind of a gift to be able
yes,
to slow down
absolutely.
and go, those things maybe they weren't obviously hurting my health yet because I was young enough, I was rebounding, but they weren't beneficial. And at least
Mhm.
now at this point in your life, you can use your sensitivity almost like a compass and a guide to let you know like what is actually good for me, what is not good for me, and let it steer you towards health and healing.
Right.
So For people that are listening right now, this is what we generally work on in a scan is we look at what are the kind of top 5 things that you want to work on because we don't want to bombard the body with too much information. So just like we're saying, we don't want to do all the supplements and all the protocols and all the things because this constant doing makes your nervous system on overdrive and it makes it always scanning and feeling unsafe. In this case, we only just want to pick a handful of things to work on so that our body can have a chance to acclimatize. So what we're doing with the infoceutical products, because I know, Leah, that you scanned with me before, but this will be your first time taking the products.
Yeah.
And I actually have them a couple here behind. So just for demonstration. And I'm actually going to just actually, before I show this next part, I just want to show you one last thing on your scan, Leah. Is just that we had a nutrition screen. There is an environmental screen here, but I think for most people, I like to kind of gloss over this one because there's so many things on here. Most of the words you won't know what they mean and what they are. So, to look at this, sometimes I feel like it can overwhelm us and make us feel a little bit like analysis paralysis. Like there's so much detail that there is like, I don't know what all those are. How am I possibly going to do something about all of them? I don't think we start there. The only time that I really get into any of these, like maybe mold exposures, if you were coming and you scanned month after month and you were showing symptoms and sign of mold exposure and the
Mhm.
same mold things were coming up for you, we might want to review that. But otherwise, some of these things are just in the environment. Maybe we lived in an apartment in the past that had it. It doesn't necessarily mean you have an acute exposure right now. The one I do like, though, to draw people's attention to is the nutrition. Because in this case, we do have a ability to look at sensitivities in our diet. And so for you, I seen that there was a gluten sensitivity came up.
Oh, really? Kind of funny.
Um,
Not funny. I feel like most people have gluten sensitivities, but wow,
yeah,
like purple. When I was younger, I used to, my mom, like I used to eat gluten free completely. Like they used to tell me that I was like, I had celiac disease. And then I did get tested recently, like in the last few years. And they said, no, like you're fine. But I do notice, like, I mean, I'm sure a lot of people have gluten sensitivities, but it's crazy that that's like, because I did all the tests and they're like, no, you're fine. You can eat gluten. And I'm like, something doesn't feel right still with that. But I try my best not to eat gluten when I can, But
okay, so this is not when you go to the doctor and they do an allergy test, you're getting an IgG or an IgA test,
right.
which is actually like a sign that there's antibodies in your blood to what you've eaten. So in this case, we're not, doing an
Yeah,
energy scan. We're not saying that there's an antibody and an actual current right now allergic reaction to these things. What it's saying is that your body's field is
yeah,
showing that it's not vibing kind of with
with
gluten.
gluten,
So,
which would make sense because, like, even when I was a kid, they told me that, like, I did have a gluten sensitivity, but then to tell me not now, I felt like that's where sometimes, like, doctor information is so, like, contradicting too. Like, or sometimes I just sort of feel like it doesn't, but maybe this is more energetically in my body with gluten rather than, yeah, like the actual, like, sensitivity to it in my
and
gut.
I always think that the best advocate is yourself. And I think that part of like we're just talking about slowing down and becoming aware of our own patterns.
Hmm.
With food, it's the same thing. I feel like if I was to ask, 99% of the population would answer if I said, how do you feel after you eat wheat? How do you feel 1 hour? How do you feel one day? How do you feel a week later? How about when you drink milk? Most people have no idea because they're just eating, they're whatever they want, they feel bloated or they feel constipated, they have IBS symptoms, and they don't really attribute it to the food because doctors oftentimes say that,
You're fine.
you're
Yeah.
fine. Like they don't really like say, even with my MS, they're not telling me that they say the diet is meaningless, right?
Yeah.
Like that it doesn't matter, eat whatever you want, it's not relevant. I find that hard to believe, seeing as we are what we eat, and even more than what we eat, what we assimilate,
Right.
right? And what our body's letting in. So I would say with gluten, for a lot of people, it's not that we're actually allergic to the actual protein in the gluten. We're allergic to glyphosate.
Mm,
So they spray wheat in North America with Roundup in order to make it all harvest at the same time so that they get a better yield with their crops. But that glyphosate is very damaging. It's poison for our body. So, maybe gluten wouldn't have been a problem for me or you because I'm not celiac either. So maybe, 50 years ago, this wouldn't have been a big deal. But for us now, because
Yeah.
we're sensitive to the way they've processed it and the things they've done to it, which is common with milk products as well too,
Yeah. Like I
right?
can't even like I saw lactose was low on there, but I was like I don't even drink milk anymore because I just feel like I don't know, it doesn't make me feel good. I know
I'll
that
tell
there's
you.
so much that goes into milk that it's like yeah.
Well, yeah, you get antibiotics there too, and
Hmm.
you're getting all the growth hormones. One other ones that showed up for you though was
Oh,
legumes and
interesting.
beans.
That is
So
something I'm eating more of lately, so that's interesting.
yeah. Now, one of the things I'm going to say based on this is a snapshot of when you did the scan. So if we were to scan you again in 2 weeks, these ones might not be purple, it might be
Okay.
something else. So when you look at these again, it's not to take this as diagnostic or to say you're
Yeah.
never going to eat legumes again, take it out of your diet. What I like to do is tell people, notice how you feel, take it out for a couple weeks, and then add it one thing back in at a time and notice actually how it makes you feel because I'll tell you, your own body's response is more informative than a doctor's test or my scan because your body will know.
So like
And
you said, like with the gluten too, it could maybe be the way it's processed. Like let's say like if I'm finding like I'm eating more canned beans or legumes instead of like getting them dry and then just like rehydrating them or something, like maybe like whatever's in the can or the preservatives too, like could that affect that?
yeah, I think everything can affect it. And so one of the
Okay.
things, and I don't know if we've ever done this in person together, but have you ever heard of applied kinesiology, muscle, or energy testing?
No.
Okay, so what it's going to be is like you would like say put your arm out and somebody would push down on it to give you a gauge of like how strong you are. And then you would say take whatever it is, your supplement, the food, and then you hold it close to your body and then have somebody try to push down again. And if it stays strong, then that thing your body likes it energetically. If it goes weak, then your body's saying, I don't really like this. You could test that with things that you're regularly eating. Get your partner to help you. Or if nobody's at home and you want to do it, you could get like a pitcher of water, milk, something you have on the counter, and you could lift it and kind of feel how heavy does it feel to lift. Then when you pick up the other thing and try again, you'll feel whether it was easier or harder to lift it. And that's an instant feedback mechanism to tell you because sometimes it changes, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
like sometimes for a while your body's saying, yeah, I don't really like this. But then your gut heals, something changes, and then
Hmm.
it becomes okay later. It's better to kind of go with the flow a little bit as opposed to becoming very restrictive. Because
Okay.
sometimes the problem when we follow these very restrictive diets is our nervous system actually triggers even more
Yeah.
because we're so stressed out about, oh, did they put seed oil, is there wheat gluten in this, is there, and we're so we, oh, I can't go to the restaurant, oh, what if I go to their house to eat and they serve this, like we put so much stress on the food even when people are just dieting to lose weight,
Yeah.
right? We take the joy out of eating and we put so much mental stress in it that we are not going to digest whether the food was good or it wasn't
Yeah.
good because our nervous
Yeah, that
system is
makes
not going
sense.
to
It's
allow it.
interesting. It's funny, like even just you saying that, like it kind of resonates even like when, I know a lot of people want to lose weight, but like when I had like my foot surgeries and stuff and I couldn't be like I couldn't exercise or do a lot of movement, I was really just eating better. And I wasn't even necessarily eating better, but I just kind of let go of that thought because I was like, whatever, I'm in this healing state. I'm just gonna like do whatever. But it's funny that I actually started losing weight, even though I wasn't exercising and I wasn't always necessarily eating the best, but just by letting go of that thought of trying to lose weight or, you know, eat better so I can lose weight type thing. So it's interesting that you're saying that too. So
This is
it all connects.
absolutely, no, you just hit the nail on the head. That's exactly what it is that sometimes, and this is even for when I started this by saying, for people who feel stuck, like they're doing everything, sometimes the doing too much is actually
Yeah,
what holds us back from healing. Because
right.
if everything that we're doing becomes a checklist, I must do this. Did I eat organics? Did I do my yoga? Did I meditate? Did I eat this thing right? Or did I do my sleep hygiene? Did I dry brush? Did all of a sudden, if we have this mental chatter and all this pressure to say, I must do all of these things if I'm going to heal, if I don't do these things, I'm not going to heal, your nervous system goes into that hypervigilance, scanning the environment, never feeling safe.
Mm.
And when that happens, it's going to stall everything downstream. So none of the things are going to work right. So there is something about the idea and like what your large intestine is trying to tell us,
Right.
just letting go a little bit,
Mhm.
right? Let go of some of the rigidity on what needs to be done, what must be done, and the pressure that you need to be in a certain place in your healing. Because sometimes that very disintegration of the expectations on the outcomes and the gripping onto, control of the process, letting go of that will actually allow things like the weight to come off or your body to start to heal.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So it's a bit of a paradox actually that sometimes they call it Wu Wei in Zen
Ooh,
meditation in
interesting.
Buddhism. So it's called doing non-doing.
Doing, non-doing, I like that.
Doing so it's effortless
Almost,
effort.
it makes sense. And I think I've just really started to notice those patterns within myself, like even with my fibromyalgia, like in my chronic pain, like the more I was trying to figure out, like before even my diagnosis, like figuring it out and was like, why is this hurting? Like I felt like everything was just getting worse because I was down that rabbit hole of like, why is this happening? And what can I do to make it better? And then like, yeah, letting go of that a little bit, I think like really it helps. It doesn't mean that those symptoms are gone, but um I definitely am noticing that and having that awareness in the body now. And then with the scan too, it feels like it's cool how it all connects and it's just like I don't know, it's very validating.
Yeah, and I think that it takes some of the pressure off too to know that you're not putting in enough effort. Because I
Yeah.
think that for a lot of us, at least for myself, I know I used to feel disheartened because
Yeah.
I would sign up for courses, I would read books, I would do the program, I would do a protocol, and then I still wasn't better. And it
Mm.
always felt like a personal failure because I would hear other people succeeding, and then you're like, well, why doesn't it work for me? Like, I guess I'm just broken. I'm not fixable. It's not meant for me. Like, maybe
Mhm.
I'm sicker than other people. Maybe is it genetic? And so it's not something that I have any ability to exert control on. But all of a sudden, when you start to look at healing in this different paradigm where everything is, like Tesla tells us, energy, vibration, and frequency. And
Mhm.
our energy field, when we're born, for most of us, unless you have a genetic condition on birth, most of us have a beautiful blueprint, and it's like an instrument that's tuned, and it's humming, it's radiant, it's good. But over time, we have these little, death by a thousand cuts, where it could just be, I'm too stressed in traffic. I'm in a marriage that I'm not happy. I don't like my job. I don't have right boundaries. Or maybe they're major traumas. Maybe it is the death of your spouse, a child. Maybe there's like, you have a severe car accident, or even once you get the diagnosis, I mean, that's its own trauma again, right, to your body. And when your nervous system and your energy blueprint gets these oscillations, these stuck energy, these thought loops, these nervous system patterns, even if you do all the right things, if you don't plug those leaks and you don't figure out how to make the system coherent again, then no amount of effort is going to sustain in the body. And so this is why in my model I use the koshas, which is healing the physical body, the energy body, mental, wisdom or emotional body, and then the spiritual bliss body. Because once you get all of those things working in harmony, then I believe that, healing is almost inevitable because you create the right conditions. But it's not about doing more. It's about just realizing, getting awareness as to what the patterns are, and then making different decisions that can help to make it coherent again. And the same way that it was, we got sick little bit by little bit, we pull things out,
Mhm.
one piece of toxin, one food choice, one job choice, one, response to, all these things as we
Yeah.
start to work on all of it. As that top field starts to heal and it starts to become aligned and full of purpose, then the body will follow downstream, because whatever the mind thinks about, the body listens to. And as long as when our body is communicating the signals to us, our mind is saying, okay, I'm going to make space for you. I'm going to listen. I'm going to adapt behavior, or I'm going to let go, or I'm going to make a boundary. And then once the body feels heard by the mind and the mind is doing the actions the body needs, everything will just start to hum beautifully. And then honestly, there's a little piece of the healing where you have to just be okay that it might stay the same. It might plateau. Sometimes you might dip again and then it goes
Mm-hmm.
up again. And that you don't grip onto that outcome so hard that you stall the healing or you backslide because you weren't able to just kind of flow with what
Right.
is, you know?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. So, in the email that I've sent to you, I'll send after this, it's going to give you a list of your 5 infoceuticals that we talked about in your scan, the highest priorities for you, and
Okay.
instructions on what to do with them. So, the
Okay.
infoceuticals look like this, and they are structured water. So what happens is whatever frequencies showed up on your scan that are most out of tune, colloidal minerals are added to this to help the cells be able to take information in and detox out. And then frequency is played into the structured water. And this becomes like a reminder to your body for the pattern it wants to go to. So
Okay.
the reason why we take this every day for 28 days is because every time the body wants to start to go back to the habitual way of dysregulation, we're taking drops again to remind it that this is the
Okay.
frequency that we want to hum in. But we're also going to realize that even like energy medicine, this is safer. There's no side effects, so it's not like a pharmaceutical drug, but it's also not something that you could just take a pill or take a liquid drop and you're fixed. This requires then to look at the energy patterns that are coming up for you and then to actually start to take tangible, real life changes in the way you think, the way you process, and the way you act, because that is what, in the long run, the infoceutical products will help to get you back into coherence. But if you want to maintain the coherence, then this requires now ongoing effort, on your part to create that. And for the listeners as well at home, another option always is outside of infoceutical products is called a MiHealth device. And based on your scan reports, frequency can be programmed into the device and it then can be applied to either remotely, so off body, or it can be done directly onto the skin. And this becomes like a biofeedback device. So as the frequency that your body needs to remember is played into the body, the nervous system responds back and they go back and forth in dialogue until your frequency starts to come back and remember what it used to be like before whatever knocked it off balance came into your field. So, Leah, did you have any questions for me about the scan or any last comments you wanted to make?
Um, no, I feel like you answered everything. This was so great. Like, these are like the main things that that showed up that were, like I'm going to be doing the infoceuticals for. I never would have thought about those without the scan. So I really appreciate like bringing them up. And I love that they all tie into each other, even though they feel like completely opposite categories, but they all resonate and it all makes sense now that we went over it. So I'm excited to start.
Well, thank you so much for being honest and open because this conversation, I'm sure, is going to help people. So, for those of you that are watching today and you can hear yourself in this story and you're curious to see what patterns maybe did you miss, what maybe didn't show up in what the doctors have done as far as your labs or maybe MRIs, x rays, or other specialists that you've seen. What is the reason why maybe some of the things you tried didn't work as well as you hoped they would? And maybe you can find out what your energy patterns are saying beneath the surface so you can get to the real root cause and start to make actions that are meaningful in your health journey. So if you're interested in trying a scan out, you'll find information in the show notes below on how to do a scan, how to work with me individually, and how to get recommendations on what kind of products and things you can start to implement immediately to move the dial and finally start to get some relief of your symptoms, get your energy and your vitality back, and start to not just survive, but thrive. Have a life full of beauty, purpose, and alignment. So, for everybody, stay curious, stay healthy, have a blessed day and a blessed life. Namaste. If you've been listening and thinking, I've tried everything, but something is still missing, then you are not alone. This is where I was with my MS and what led me to write my book, Unlearn Disease, Relearn Well-Being. In this book, I break down how you too can rewire your nervous system, revitalize your energy, and work with all layers of your being to bring resolution and holistic healing. This is a great starting point for your journey. Find it in the show notes below. If this resonated, subscribe to Energy Over Matter for more energy medicine, nervous system regulation, and healing. You'll also find guided meditations and full episodes of Mind Over MS. Thanks for being here. Have a blessed day and a blessed life. Namaste.